friends, welcome to Scooter! With many festive occasions coming our way where friends and family gather.
We thought we'd help you navigate some of the awkward and tricky comments and questions you might receive during these gatherings.
Particularly from that one uncle or school friend that you haven't seen in ages.
Now, before we teach you how to politely and tactfully deflect or respond to these questions, if you want to learn how to give compliments and be part of that positive cycle of communication, go check out our first video where we share some useful phrases to give compliments and thanks.
Before we start, the video is brought to you by Scooter,
the app to get you to Chinese and Japanese mastery.
Create your own decks or learn from Scooter's curated word list and popular textbooks.
Learn and practice vocabulary at the most optimal times for your retention.
Sign up for a free account today
and get a complimentary copy of our new ebook delivered right to your inbox. We're going to give you some common questions that you might get this holiday season. But before we go into the questions and kind of the role play, Iona has some general tactics that she wants to give us.
首先就是要转移焦点
Divert the attention.
称赞长辈
Compliment your elders.
目标是要让长辈自动开始分享自己的事
That's right. The goal is to get the other person to continue talking and to divert from yourself.
让他们忘记要问你的话
Hopefully they forget their line of questioning and then go back to themselves. Let's start with a question you might get from a distant relative or an old school friend. So, 好久不见，你还记得我吗？
哇，你记性也太好了吧！身体最近都还好吗？我看你气色很好耶。
So Iona's gone straight into complimenting the other person for their memory, and note that she hasn't even said their name.
没错
So it's a great tactic of diversion. Now, maybe you're still in school, and gosh, in particular, I would say in an Asian family context, we love to ask you about your test results and whether you've got into that university that you always wanted to. So you might hear this phrase, 考得怎么样了？有学校了吗？
还不错，但还不知道，等有消息再跟大家分享。
Right, here you just claim ignorance, but I think the important phrase here is 等有消息再跟大家分享. So you're ending on a positive note. You're not saying that you don't want to share, but you will share once there's good news. Oh, and gosh, a popular one that we get during the holidays, and that is 你现在在做什么工作啊？薪水多少？有奖金吗？
我们这边的解题重点呢，是要先模糊的从大方向告知我们的产业类别。
Yeah, so just give a general industry vibe, right?
然后再问对方问题。
And then go straight into the question for the other person. So listen along to how you can answer this question.
哦，我在做电脑相关的工作，薪水还够用啦。哎，对了，叔叔，听说你女儿今年带你去日本玩哦，玩得开心吗？
I love this answer. Yeah, so 我在做 insert your industry 相关的工作，薪水还算够用 right? It's enough, right? But then I want to go straight into a comment on their recent travels. So very smart, very smart.
而且你一定要提到是开心的事情，因为如果是你提到人家不开心的事，他又会注意会转移到你身上。
Of course. So maybe the thing is you need to do a little bit of homework before your family gatherings. Now another very popular topic outside of salary and work is 有没有男朋友？有没有女朋友？要不要帮你介绍男朋友、女朋友？
首先，第一个，如果你是一个有对象的人
Yes, if there is someone in your life, you can respond with
有啊，有个男朋友、女朋友，他对我很好，相处的蛮开心的。看看接下来相处的如何，再跟阿姨分享。
Note that all of Iona's questions end with I'm going to follow up with you. I'm going to let you know more when I can. And I think that's a great approach. So this is really nice. Just say, yeah, I do. They're really great. And we're having a great time. Now, if you don't have a partner, how do we respond?
没有，最近工作太忙了，等这阵子忙完再说。
Oh, so Iona here is saying, I'm just really enjoying my work. I'm quite busy. Maybe after this period, great deflection. Now, if you do have someone, the questions still continue with 什么时候要结婚生小孩? Now, if you do plan to either get married or have children, you can use this phrase.
目前有在考虑，应该快了。
Yeah, so I'm considering it. We might move on it more sooner than later. And if you have no plans, Iona actually recommends to use the above answer, even if you don't plan to. Just say, yeah, we're thinking about it. Maybe 有在考虑。
对，
And maybe that might save you.
口水战。
Yes, it'll save you a lot of effort and unnecessary debate. But if you do want to be clear that you don't have a plan now and you want to politely respond, you can still use this phrase.
目前还没有计划，有打算的话，一定会跟舅舅分享。
Again, we don't have plans now, but if I do,
I will let
you'll
you know.
be the first to know. Again, I love this theme that's going through this video. In our first video, Iona mentioned that a lot of our friends experience a lot of this kind of culture shock sometimes on the directness of question. Now, you've been asked about your salary. You've been asked about your bonus. You've been asked about your relationship status. We know your relationship status. When are you going to get married? When are you going to have children, right? This is like, and then finally, it's like, boosh.
就是其他前面是有脉络的，但这一个呢是无时无刻就会出现。
Yes, I mean the first ones seem to follow some kind of logic, but just as when you think, I've avoided these questions, maybe you're about to go over and get some more fruit, get another snack,
Get another bubble tea drink.
Get another bubble tea drink, and bam, you get hit with the question, 变胖了。
变胖哦。
Now, how do you respond with this in a positive way?
重点是我们要把这个负面的印象，变胖的负面印象，不管你真的有没有变胖，他们还是会讲，转移成生活开心的象征。
Now, whether or not you've actually gained a few pounds, and frankly, we know it's none of their business, but we want to kind of change their perspective. Why is weight gain always a negative thing, right? We want to associate it with positive life changes, right? We want to make it very happy so that we can't carry on this topic. So how can we respond to this question politely?
对啊，生活开心，所以就吃得多，这是幸福肥。
That's right. 幸福肥. This is happiness weight, right? I'm really enjoying my life right now and I'm having a great time. And then you follow up with this phrase. Now, I think this is like must learn.
哦，我好羡慕姑姑，你都不会胖，你是怎么保养的啊？你有在运动吗？
Yes, you turn it around. You ask them about their experiences. How do they stay so slender? How do they stay so beautiful and look so young, right? 我好羡慕姑姑你都不会胖, right? How do you keep it up? 你有在运动吗？
就把这重点丢回去
Again,
给他。
You toss it back right at them. I do think sometimes it's our job to inject positivity into these conversations, help our relatives maybe have some perception
他
changes.
们其实也只是关心你啦。
Yes, I think particularly if you're new to these big family settings, not even big family, these family settings, particularly in a Mandarin-speaking context, it does seem like an inquisition. All these questions.
I'd like to share a revelation that I've had during my time here.
But in fact, it's their way of showing concern and care, right? These are topics, frankly, that weren't taboo, before for a previous generation. A previous generation would happily talk about how they gained 5 kg, got married, had 2 kids, their child has gone to school, they got into that university. It's very common topics amongst kind of a family setting. So don't take offense. I think that's the key thing that we want to share here also, apart from these useful phrases,
没错没错
is that, so don't take offense, take it
你
with
要
a
一
light
直记
heart.
得告诉自己说，他们是试着关心你，但是讲了一个可能让你不舒服，但是他们是关心你。
Yes. Now, something that might not be directed at you personally,
没错
but sometimes inevitably, tricky topics come up in these family settings. Now, whether it's opposing political parties, right, and an argument breaks out, or It's that old family incident that happened 15 years ago between the two uncles Chen, right? And a big fight erupts again about whose fault it was, you know. Sometimes it gets a bit heated, whether it's about what's happening now or what's happened before. And you might need to be the person to be like, whew, everyone take a breath, take a breath. How do
还没有人讲话，他怎么办呢？
or it's super awkward, right? What do we do? What phrase can we use?
好了好了，过年过节我们轻松一点，大家休息一下，来吃水果，来吃水果。
Yes. Now, if you are in a Mandarin speaking setting, setting everyone off on food, actually, not just a Mandarin setting, setting everyone off on more food and snacks is always a good call.
哎，要不要喝珍珠奶茶？来点一下，点一下。
Get the order in.
红茶3杯，绿茶4杯。OK OK。
听说这间很好喝 right? New bubble tea
哦，
shop.
没有，听说另外一间更好喝，然后对话就会默默的消失了。
So that's a great way of diverting the attention. But I do want to quickly highlight one phrase that I think is very useful, and that is 过年过节, and that's a general phrase for holiday seasons or holidays within this holiday season. All right, well, we hope you found this video useful. You've learned how to deflect, redirect, all the criticism, backhanded compliments. But we, again, really encourage you to go watch our other video where we teach you how to give compliments.
If you want to learn all of the words taught in this 2-part lesson,
We've created a companion study deck which you can study using the Skritter app. Alternatively, you can learn from the HSK exam study decks or some of the most popular textbooks. 加油, 加油, you can do it. Look at these phrases again. Take a deep breath. You can get through this, okay?
没错，加油。
We hope you have a happy, gentle, and restful holiday season. Bye.
bye.
Emotional damage.